What's up, YouTube? It is R&D Lee here for another Tech Talk in the new house of Lee R&D. I hope you like the reno, but we are bringing you the latest and the greatest from MBS Mountain Boards. New creations we're super excited about. And when I say late and great, I mean both of those because this thing, I believe, is truly great, but is also truly late. This thing took us way too long to get out, so I apologize. We've leaked a few things to people to let you know that we've been working on this, but it's taken a long time to get out. So why is that? Well, you guys know, pandemic and all that type of stuff. Heaps of issues through that, freight, all that type of stuff, headaches. But the main thing is we had a couple factories closed down. So that's lost our shock block factory, a couple things like that really kind of threw some spanners in the works. But as they say, with adversity comes opportunity. So that gave us an opportunity to do some things that really I wasn't even thinking about doing before, because we got to redesign our shock block, whole new mold, whole new formula, and this thing is just incredible. So I'm just going to dive straight into this thing and let you guys know all the little kind of details and things that you know are obvious and some things that maybe aren't as obvious. But the first one really is the shock block. And not only the shock block itself, but the fact that the shock block now has adjustable shock positions. So basically you can see this guy's here coming in the stock outer position, and this one here has got the stock inner position. So basically you guys are used to the old metal matrix, which I got right here. And these two the shock positions on the new ones basically are on either side of this old school shock position. So basically one slightly out, one slightly in. And what that does is through all the adjustment that you guys are used to, the normal, obviously adjusting your adjustment screws for the compression and also the durometer adjustment that you can do, we're adding a new one, and that's the shock position. So we just are able to go from insanely carvy. Like this thing is like, even the smallest kid is just carving, crazy circles over to the outside position with a stiff shock cranked down to where it's like, look, you can't even turn it. You can go so fast on this thing and you basically will be going straight no matter what. And everything in between. So that's probably like the one thing that you'll notice straight off the bat is just massive range of adjustability, and just an infinite number of ways to kind of hit every point in between to make sure that you can customize these to exactly the way that you want to ride. So that's the big thing. Um, Formula is another thing I mentioned earlier on the shock. That's given us a opportunity to really dial in our formula and get something that we weren't quite doing before, which is just, we've always had something that we thought was a good high rebound formula, but this one is just, it's next level. Absolutely love the stuff, and you guys are going to love it too. So some of the other changes here are a big one that you'll notice straight away just visually is our hanger profile has changed. So we've gone from this really kind of freaky, hard to figure out exactly what that shape was. It basically was kind of like just a weird octagon, 8 sides, but just kind of, well, yeah, a little bit weird, whatever that thing was. And I've gone for square, which sounds, kind of square. It sounds a little bit boring. But the engineering side of this thing told me that this is actually what I wanted to do, because we were tasked with making this not only stronger, but making it lighter. So obviously stronger, that's easy. Add more material, no problem. Make it lighter, okay, whatever, take material away. But to make something stronger and lighter, you need some engineering, and we actually did some engineering on this, analyzed the section modulus of all the different shapes, taking it from a circle, which is basically an infinite number of sides, down to octagons and hexagons and squares, pentagons, bringing it all the way down. And what I found was interesting, and I hadn't guessed that originally, was that actually the fewer sides that you have, the stronger your profile is. So in theory, actually a triangular profile, even though I didn't go into that because just for practical reasons, triangle wasn't kind of working for what we were doing. But in theory, you could get a really strong profile with a triangular one. So anybody into doing your own R&D, that might be something that you want to check out. But for us, the square ended up just being the perfect profile. And like I said, maybe it looks a bit boring, but in fact, I think with the final look of the whole thing, it actually looks pretty killer. as well. Now there's a few disadvantages of a square. You get some kind of like hard edges, and I didn't want those on the grind surface. I wanted this to grind definitely as well as the last one, which is pretty much, I'd say, the gold standard in grinding for mountain board trucks. So I've rounded off, a nice little fillet on that kind of bottom edge, so it's really, really good for grinding. But I kept the top one pretty sharp because those sharp edges actually help with the section modulus, making this thing strong and light. So visually something that you'll notice, the square profile, and performance-wise something that you'll notice too, because this thing actually is lighter than the old Matrix 2. So this came in at 780 grams. We just weighed that. Let me make sure again. We weighed it earlier. This guy was 780. And our new 780 on the dot. And our new one is, drum roll, 750. 755. Actually, it was 750 earlier. But anyway, it is lighter and it is stronger. So that's an engineering feat right there. I'm actually quite proud of that. So that's one of the things that you notice. The other thing is I've hollowed this out to kind of keep it light. And we've always kind of pressed our axles in like this. And lots of times we used to get questions, oh, how do you remove the axle? And I was ashamed to say that on the old Matrix 2s, you never could remove the axle. It looked like you should be able to pull it out somehow, but we serrated them, we press fit them, and when we press fit those things in there, there was no getting them out. Now these, we've thought ahead because we want to do some interesting things with axles. I'm not going to talk about it in this one, but later in the future, we have some axle options coming out, maybe different materials, maybe different lengths, that type of thing. But we've laid the groundwork for that by making the axle removable. So it's basically, it's a thread. We actually still got the hollow axle as well, but it's a hollow hanger and it's a threaded axle. There's a set screw in there and there's a permanent Loctite adhesive on this thing. So actually you cannot get this undone just with a hex key unless you use a heat gun. So I've went ahead and did that just so I can show you guys, but yeah, basically just threads in, and but you can be guaranteed this thing is not going to come out on you. With a heat gun, you need probably at least 30 seconds, but leave it on there for a long time, right on this aluminum section, and then that'll get it to where you can kind of come out. But that's something kind of like future-proofing this thing. Who knows what you guys are going to do? Smaller diameter, put some, skate axles on this thing, run some urethanes. I don't know what you guys want to do, make them longer. Jason, my brother, just did a kind of a dune board with these like big wide ones. Easy, whole matrix system, no problem. Make your own axles, DIY, that stuff's fun. So we're kind of future-proofing with that removable axle. Another thing you guys would like to know are just some of the little things. Those are probably the biggest things that we've talked about. Square profile, stronger, lighter, adjustable shock blocks, the formula. Those are kind of the big things, but there's actually lots of little things, just details that we've paid attention to on this one that you guys, might not notice by looking at it, but you are going to notice when you ride it. Number one, obviously we're big, big, big on precision here at MBS. That's always been our thing, and that's why we love the channel truck system, because it just is the most precise system that you can get based on that fixed kingpin. So you don't have, any play in bushings or anything like that. Now other systems love it. They're great. They're different. They all got their advantages and disadvantages. But the one true advantage of a channel truck fixed kingpin is that it is precise. And it's really precise if you do it right. All channel trucks are not made equal. So I've just paid extra attention on this edition of the Matrix, the new Matrix 3, just to the details, the tolerance on the kingpin, the tolerance. I've tightened up everything on the bushings as well. And I've also kind of integrated the nut actually into the top truck itself, kind of like we used to do with, or we still do with the actual deck mounting screws. So that's integrated in there. There's no play, there's no washers, there's nothing to rattle. And actually we've done a permanent Loctite on the threads of this one as well. So this, same thing, if you want to actually remove this kingpin, you need a heat gun to do it. Now that's not something you need to do because you don't need to do that to remove your shock blocks or anything like that. So who's going to need to do it? Probably nobody, but if you do, or if you want to swap something out or you break something, you can, but you need a heat gun. So precision, I've really, really paid attention on that. These things are so precise. Some of the other ones are just, like I said, having things, not come loose, rattling, things that like, we take your guys' feedback, everything, from YouTube comments, calls that we get, writers that we talk to, we really take these things seriously. So when somebody says like, oh man, I hate it when this nut comes loose and my washer rattles, and I mean, it may not be a big deal, but to us it is a big deal. So on this edition of the Matrix, we have fixed everything that you guys have talked about. Another reason why it took so long for this thing to come out. Um, and just the other thing is just aesthetic details. Like if you look at the details, we'll show you some kind of close-up photos later. Just everything on our logos and all the engraving stuff and our new kind of like fancy sticker. Notice that you can't see, you don't have a big nut and a thread anymore. It's mysterious. It's just a nice little button head kingpin. And then this just beautiful face here. Anyway, details like that we're really proud of, and we think you're going to love them, to look at them as much as you are to ride them. Make sure, obviously, you like, you subscribe, you comment, you do all that, because let us know your feedback, not only on our products, but on our tech talks and all that type of stuff, because we want to improve our content as much as we want to do improve our products. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for the Matrix 3. The next step is just to get yourself a pair and find out for yourself how good they actually are. Thank you so much once again for watching another Tech Talk with me, R&D Lee.